Hello everyone and welcome to another of our Open the Book Bible stories. We love to bring you stories from the Bible, but we think that Jesus was the best storyteller of all. And today we're going to bring you another of the many stories Jesus told. So let's open the book to the Bible story called The Two Sons.
When Jesus was telling his stories, there were often two different groups of people who gathered to listen. The first group were the people who always seemed to get into trouble for doing the wrong thing. And whenever Jesus spoke about God his Father, they would shake their heads as if to say,
"We're so foolish and we always seem to do what's wrong. How can God love us?"
The second group were the people who thought that they were very good. So much so, in fact, that they made quite sure that everyone knew how good and wonderful they were. And whenever Jesus spoke about God, his Father, they would nod their heads and point to themselves as if to say,
"We're so wise and we always do what's right. God must be very pleased with us."
So, one day, making sure that both groups were listening, Jesus told them all a new story. There was once a man who had two sons. He also had a vineyard. On a hot, sunny day, the man approached his first son and said,
"Nathan, I need you to do some work today. Please go to my vineyard and help harvest the grapes."
No way, Dad. I'm not going to the vineyard today. I want to play with my friends.
But Nathan shook his head. And he headed off away from the vineyard towards the fields where he hoped his friends would be. The man went to his second son and said,
"Luke, I need you to do some work today. Please go to my vineyard and help harvest the grapes."
Yes, Dad, of course I will. I'd love to go to the vineyard today. There's nothing I'd like better.
And he headed off towards the vineyard. But on the way there, Luke stopped and had a think. Then he said to himself,
What am I doing? It's a beautiful day. I'd much rather be playing with my friends. The work can wait. I'm not going to the vineyard today.
So he turned around and walked to the fields, hoping to meet some friends. Meanwhile, Nathan had also stopped and was also having a think. Then he said to himself,
What am I doing? I know it's a beautiful day, but my father asked me to work in the vineyard. The grape harvests can't wait. That's where I should be today.
So he turned around and walked away from the fields, back to the vineyard, ready to work. "Now," said Jesus, "tell me, in the end, which of the two sons did what his father wanted? Nathan, who first shook his head and said no, or Luke, who first nodded to say yes?"
Nathan!
Everyone answered. He shook his head at first, but then he did what was right. "So listen," said Jesus. "There are some who nod their heads at first and point to themselves as if to say, 'We are always good.' But when they hear God asking them to change their lives, they say no and head off in the wrong direction. And there are others who at first shake their heads as if to say, 'God cannot love us.' But when they hear God asking them to change their lives, they turn around and end up going the right way after all."
In this story, Jesus shows us that whether we think we are good or whether we think we are bad isn't important. The important thing is whether we choose to do what God asks us to do. So we're going to take a moment together for reflection. Close your eyes and think about yesterday? Did you say anything you wish you hadn't? Did you do anything you wish you hadn't? Now, I'm going to say a prayer. And if you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end. Dear God, help us to think about the things we say. Help us to think about the things we do. Help us to make the right choices today. Amen. Well, thank you for joining us for our Open the Book story today. See you again soon for another story.